Every day, people just like you find buried treasures with White's metal detectors. Coins lost yesterday or 100 years ago. Gold nuggets, jewelry, relics of days gone by, even rare and valuable meteorites. Whatever you choose to search for, there's a White's model for your budget and skill level. Even if you've never used a metal detector, you could find treasure your first time out with a White's. For over 40 years, White's Electronics has built the world's finest metal detectors. Detectors that reflect the White's commitment to quality, performance, and service. Proudly bearing the American-made label. Discover the world of treasure waiting to be uncovered with White's. For a free catalog featuring the latest in metal detector technology or the location of your nearest White's dealer, call toll-free 1-800-547-6911. That's 1-800-547-6911.
This is San Clemente, California, where our two adventurers were first inspired to make their long, long journey. Donn with one N, Atkinson. He was 23 years old when it all began, a graduate of Long Beach University with a degree in photography. He spends his time playing beach volleyball or looking for work. This is Donn with two N's, Dunlop. He too was 23 years old when it all began. Donn majors in recreation. He's an adventurer in a world where it's all been done. But he could still dream. Perhaps there is an adventure waiting for every dreamer. Could nuggets of gold actually be found only inches beneath the ground? Was there a treasure waiting to be discovered? Was there a land just waiting to be explored? What about the native aborigines the world knows so little about? Could all the dangers of such a journey be survived? Two Ends has never been known to stay in any one place very long. Our adventuresome dreamer knows that all the forests, mountains, and perfect waves have been found. Donn found his dream adventure. It's a minor detail that it was going to take place 7,000 miles away. He learned about George in an article in this magazine. No one knows who George is, but he's rich. He was paid $1 million for a gold nugget. That got Donn's attention. If George could do it, then so could he. George, the anonymous finder of the $1 million Hand of Faith gold nugget, tells his own moving story for the first time, and he gives valuable advice to fellow treasure hunters.
There's just got to be more of those nuggets.
By using the latest technology in metal detectors, you can now detect gold in the highly mineralized ground of Australia. Australia is one of the few places on the face of the earth where nuggets of gold are close to the surface of the ground.
This guy George found a 63-pound gold nugget. Instant millionaire. Is that amazing or what? The casino in Las Vegas bought it. As soon as I get the money together, I'm gone.
Where are you going? Let me see that.
Our two friends, yes, I said two, sold most of their possessions, bought 2 tickets to Australia and 8 extra metal detectors, which they would be able to sell in Australia for twice as much. Their first break came early. Their extra baggage fee was $120. Both Donns were already out of money. Now, that's a great way to begin an adventure 7,000 miles away from home, broke. The check-in clerk told them to forget the fee. Their second break came at the other end of their flight. There was a customs charge on the metal detectors. The officer laughed when he learned they were there to strike it rich. He too fossicked, as he called it, for gold. He told them to forget the fee.
I don't think this is going to work.
Donn with two N's, research, indicates gold has been found all over Australia. Few people, however, are using the metal detectors because they were invented only a few years earlier. Most of the nuggets had been found in the Golden Triangle. And since the city of Wedderburn is in the heart of the Golden Triangle, that's where they headed. Rumor had it that George found his 63-pound nugget there. Hitchhiking, or to dink, as the Aussies call it, convinced them they needed their own vehicle. They decided to get one in Kangaroo Flat, halfway to Wedderburn. Donn checks the place out. Kangaroo Flat has 24 miles of gold mine tunnels beneath it. Our brave adventurers hoped their added weight wouldn't collapse the town into the tunnels while they were there. The metal detectors sold for twice what they paid for them. Now they could buy a modern-day version of a prospector's donkey. This sheep farmer wanted $800 for his 1967 Ford Transit van. He got it. He threw in directions at no extra cost. Now all they needed was food, carpet, beds, a table and stove, extra water and gas tanks, a motorcycle and rack, and some spare tires. Yep, you guessed it. Broke again. There was just one little problem with their motel on wheels.
Did you shower this morning?
I was about to ask if you'd brushed your teeth.
Man, I didn't know sheep smelled so bad.
The Donn's new home. What a thing of beauty it was.
Hey, do you think we're on the right side of the road?
You mean left or right? So this is the oldest grapevine in the southern hemisphere.
Do you know you're worth about $5,000 a piece outside Australia? Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
There's birds everywhere. I think I'm gonna like it here.
Wedderburn, the heart of the Golden Triangle. Our two prospectors were disappointed. No gold nuggets were lying around. This is where a geologist found a nugget on top of the ground, and the rush was on.
I think I'm lighter here.
You bloody septics. Reckon you can come down here, find our gold?
Who, me? No, just passing through.
We drink more grog than water in Aussie.
No beer, just directions.
Put a skirt on your horse's hoof.
Look, do you think you could just give us some directions?
Have you got my meat pie, you tea leaf? You greasy mongrel wogs.
Don, does this mean they like us?
You're getting on my goat, you wanker.
What's a wanker?
I don't know.
Well, the sheep farmer didn't mind helping out the Dons and told them rumor had it George had gone west to look for more gold. He reckoned all the gold left was out west. Said some color had been found in the paddock over there, but no, you won't find any gold here. One end decided to give it a go anyway. He quickly learned that fossicking was a lot harder than it looked. He was having to do several things at the same time.
If this doesn't get much easier, it's gonna be a long year.
The Don spent that night thinking about the day's efforts. Nails, tin cans, and trash wasn't what they were looking for. They just needed more practice.
I think I'm getting the hang of it. All I have to do is walk, adjust the detector, watch where I'm going, and keep the flies out of my nose, all at the same time.
Not to mention the incredible patience needed to interpret the numerous detector signals.
What? Another nail? Another musket ball? No, it couldn't be. Maybe. It couldn't be this easy, is it? Feels pretty heavy.
It was gold. It was a pretty nice sized nugget, too. Now Don with two ends could join the Gold Nugget Club. Gold fever set in fast. Just think about it. That nugget was only 1 inch under the ground. 1 inch. The dream of finding gold everywhere returned, and the new rumor was George had now gone west to find more gold. At first, it was back to the city to sell the nugget for needed supplies. A newspaper said an airline pilot with a metal detector found a coin worth $26,000 in a city. That would buy a few supplies. Don Two Ends thought this old churchyard would be a good place to look for coins. Who else would be nuts enough to dig holes here? And with cops on the corner, no less? Apparently not Don. This seemed to be a much better time. Our audacious gopher makes his getaway. The coin was worth $35. Our brave adventurers decided they'd check a park for coins. There weren't any cops there.
You look like a big squirrel. Are you gonna bite me?
Actually, they were Australian possums. Don't worry, though, there aren't any rabies in Australia. But you could bleed to death, I suppose. Nope, your eyes aren't going bad. Two Ends is having trouble holding the light and focusing at the same time. They found almost 200 coins that night. Half-crown, shillings, 3 pences, halfpennies, and huge old pennies. None of them were worth over $40, but it added up. Our lads' adventure almost ended the next day. They got involved in a volleyball game, and Don Two Ends tore the ligaments in his left knee. The next 24 hours were critical.
What about money for the operation? Will I get a good doctor?
Oh, is our trip over already?
The doctor told them the government paid medical bills for foreigners who had accidents. That program ended only 3 weeks later. The operation took place, and they were back on the road. Luck was still with them. Now it's back to finding George, and that would take time and even more luck. After reluctantly selling their first nugget and their remaining detectors, supplies were purchased: a new camera, film, potatoes, and onions. Those Australians told them George had gone west. That's got to be where the big color is. Across the Nullarbor Plains. That means no tree in Aborigine. There might be some color near Kalgoorlie, on the way to Perth.
Don, is this the Nullarbor?
Don, this is not the way. Wombat?
What's a wombat? The Nullarbor Plains were hot, lonely, and dangerous. The only thing out there keeping our Dons awake were the kangaroos and the road trains, both seeming oblivious to our young prospector's van. Road trains are rock-throwing semis with more than one long train. They are very dangerous. They'll run over anything in their path. In fact, they almost got the van a couple of times.
I can't see. Where's the road?
That kangaroo met up with a road train. Their luck was still holding out. As they neared Kalgoorlie, they came upon Bob Sargent. He is probably the premier gold nugget prospector in the world. He liked their spirit of adventure and decided to help them.
And the latest forecast just handed to me, hot off the telex. Today's maximum on the goldfields, 29 degrees.
The dust will gag you and clog everything, so you tape up cracks and joints. When the bitumen hits the dirt, you find out how good your tape job is. The Dons were anxious to meet Bob at his claim. Did the prospector who lived here strike it rich, or did he go bust? Lots of miners' claims were abandoned years ago. Bob finds well over $100,000 in gold nuggets a year. That's tax-free in Australia. Bob, you seem to have a knack for finding nuggets.
So we drove in those hills, pulled the car up under a shady tree, got out and walked about 25 paces, put the detector down, bang, a 12-ounce nugget.
No gold prospector's complete without his bush dog, hoping all of the flies will be attracted to the dog instead of himself. It seems like hot and boring work.
Then I did 2 or 3 days and got nothing. About just on sundown that day, I was just starting to think that it was a jolly waste of time, and I got a signal. It was down about a foot deep, and I thought, goodness me, this is a good sound. I hadn't even considered whether it was a tin or nothing. I struck this object with the pick, and I pulled it out, and as soon as I pulled it out, it was so heavy. It was a 73-ounce specimen.
Bob's doing what he does best, looking for gold. No harm in showing the young Yankee prospectors how to do it. Bob calls the 2 Dons over. He's got a good sound. The rhythm of the metal detector, the scraping away of the dirt, or the digging hours upon end never gets boring for Bob. The heart pumps and the adrenaline builds as you search for treasure. Something no man has ever seen. There it is. Millions of years of just the right pressure and just the right measurements of quartz and other minerals. As it shines through the dirt, even the great Bob Sargent still gets excited. All the heat and flies and discomfort are worth it when the metal detector starts singing the prospector's song. There it is, 3 ounces of one of nature's most beautiful creations. You don't have to ask Bob to show you some of his nuggets, especially when there's a camera nearby. He's a man who loves his work and the rewards of his work. He just happens to have some noogies with him. They are, of course, kept in a strong safe. He locks his door. He's quick to point out that these are just a few of the pieces he's found this year. It's a breathtaking sight. Gold fever is contagious. Feel it? Bob claimed to have outside help.
Now, the Lord showed me this place, and a big rush set in there. And it was a big rush. I was going in there, there was about 50 caravans parked in there, and everybody was finding gold.
Bob explained how finding gold in patches was common in the West.
I then went and worked the area, and we got 200 ounces of gold there. This other one here weighed 22 ounces. With the difference between letting God guide me and trying to do it myself is just so spectacular. Well, this one weighed 34 ounces. Oh, it's that little patch of nuggets there we found in our sluice over at Macnee, and then we went in there and found another approximately 200 ounces. Well, there's about 150 ounces here, and I've got another 50 ounces in London being sold.
Thanks for showing us your collection, Bob. You won't mind if I take a few souvenirs, will you?
Bob had one more 78-ounce specimen to show them. Funny joke, Bob. Actually, it was a big goanna, or monitor lizard. After explaining to Bob about Thanksgiving Day back home, the Donns sat down to one of the most bizarre Thanksgiving meals of their lives. Barbecued kangaroo, bush style. Back on their own again, our young Yanks had much to think about. Spending time with Bob Sargent, a living legend amongst gold prospectors, definitely got their attention. It quickly goes from cold to very hot out there. The cast made two ends go slower. That's probably why he found his second nugget. George's 63-pound nugget was named the Hand of Faith. This one they named the Mustard Seed of Faith. These little hills are called mullock heaps. They were left by Chinese miners 100 years ago, sort of a handmade roller coaster. One end was beginning to feel left out. He still hadn't found any gold. The flies, however, loved him. He was still finding everything but gold. Now he had to walk, adjust the detector and everything else, and watch out for funnel web spiders.
Wow, was that a funnel web?
Instant death from one of their bites. One end's heart started pounding. The long trip was worth it. He just knew it was a big nugget. How could this happen to him? Nails, horseshoes, and now lids.
Stupid old litterbug.
Double end found another one. Some days he'd averaged one an hour. Don was finally able to take the cast off. His knee was almost as good as new. Gold nuggets weren't the only things you could find out bush. This baby kangaroo had lost its mother. They decided to take care of it until they could find it a home. They named him Loppy. When you're finding gold, it's a lot of fun. However, when you're not finding it, but the flies are finding you, it can be quite miserable. Some might think you'd gone crazy. One end, a portrait of frustration, or a new way to look for nuggets. Ah! Don cooled off for the moment. One N was finally a member of the Gold Nugget Club. Eating potatoes and onions and not having a shower for 4 weeks was worth it. So far, they'd found 17 nuggets and had lots of unusual fun. And don't forget Loppy. They needed to get to Kalgoorlie for supplies and to find a decent home for Loppy. "7,000 miles away from home, and they decided to save time and take a shortcut.
This should save us some time.
We knew this would happen, didn't we?
Bloody mud, stuck, tired. Motorcycle hurt. Looked like a shortcut on the map. Hey, Don, mate. Yeah, we'll need the winch. Looks good. The girls will love those flexed muscles. Don, this is great therapy for the knee. Remember, the knee.
Thanks for the help, Don.
What are partners for?
Kalgoorlie, an old gold town. It's time to stock up and find a good home for Loppy. They can't properly provide for him. Milk powder and water through a straw wasn't working.
No, Don, that's not a good home for Loppy.
I don't know who, Don or Loppy, was the most disappointed. It's legal to raise kangaroos in Australia. They were able to find a family who'd raised one before. They're great pets, until they get older and begin to box with you.
Bye, Loppy.
These nuggets brought a new motorcycle as a birthday present for both of them. A needed item, of course.
Hey, wait a minute. This isn't the motorcycle I agreed to buy.
Actually, these two nuggets purchased a new 185S Honda. Honda Australasia gave them a real good price, so they'd mention them in the movie.
Good morning, boys. Time to get up. You're gonna be sorry you woke my partner up.
I don't know what he'll do if that bird stops running.
You ride a chance to use the new toy.
Those are fast birds.
Okay, I give up. I'll get you next time, Featherbrain.
No way, Don. You are not chasing them.
Fossicking the gold fields is hard work, so they decided to relax a little and check out this part of the country the easy way. This glider was homemade. They were told a new one cost $17,000. That's why Jock made his own. It only cost him $200. The glider was named the Pelican. Jock was 74 years old and doing real good for his age. They wondered if his glider flew better than this real live pelican.
I sure hope he had his nap today.
The dual tow was more dangerous, but cheaper. Yes, a cheaper way to die, you might say.
Yeah, real fun, Jock. We'll do it again, sometime. Next time we're in the area. Traffic's heavier. Must be getting near Perth. Hey, you must have his pet kangaroo in the trunk.
After being in the bush for 6 months, it was time to justify the renewal of their visas. The film project gave them 6 more months. Perth was a clean and very beautiful city. There's a kangaroo paw flower. Isn't he cute? This is most definitely the land of Australia's world-famous teddy bear, the koala. He lives freely here with his koala bear mates and enjoys his Aussie disposition. A moving koala is a rare sight indeed. Most of them prefer to remain lazy but lovable. A few prefer to break their day up with a bit of treetop jazz exercise. And this fella's doing what they're best at, hanging around, doped out on eucalyptus leaves. They learned from George's agent that George was now living somewhere near Darwin.
Donn, it's time to move on. Come on, Donn, it's time to get to work.
Past Geraldton, Shark Bay, up the west coast to Broome. Across the top, past Kununurra Halls Creek, and finally, Darwin. Maybe George. That's only 3,000 miles. George moved there because he didn't want anyone to know who he and his $1 million were. The heat was so bad, they tried sleeping on the van's roof. That didn't work because the mosquitoes would kamikaze them all night. Then they bought a fan, but it would drain the battery. Then they'd have to pull the van with a motorcycle to get it started. Then the engine blew. They towed the van to the next town. It turned out to be the armpit of Australia, Wooloona. Only one garage and only one mechanic. They figured they'd be there forever. But their luck, believe it or not, was still holding, even in this Twilight Zone town.
It could lead to an indefinite strike in February. More stand-downs
Out with the bad,
In with the good.
look close, that vent's a toolbox. It worked. Remember about their luck? The mechanic had the right engine, a petrol V4, and he only wanted that small nugget for payment. See what I mean? They heard that dolphins come up to the beach here at Shark's Bay, and you can pet them. Don figured he'd hang around the dog. He was supposed to have something going with the dolphins. The locals claimed the dolphins would bring them fish. I think the dolphins smelled Don. Anyway, they weren't showing up yet. Tired of waiting, he thought he'd get his own fish. That's one way to go fishing. Shark, potato a la onion, tasted delicious later. Goats, dolphins, and dogs who get along with dolphins, and another kind of treasure, pearls. They found 7 pearls. There was only one little problem. They were so small that not even a close-up lens could film them. Flies literally drove them from this idyllic setting. This was as close as the dolphins came due to the mating season. They had to get going because monsoon rains were scheduled. The coastline was beautiful, rugged, and who knows what dangers lurk in strange places 7,000 miles from home. Ignoring signs was not advisable when you're a foreigner. Sea wasps, not the dreaded sea wasps. Actually, this nightmare wasn't necessary, Don. Sea wasps are only jellyfish. They don't fly. Don 1N had a way of getting to know people. He got a ticket for not having his helmet strap fastened. Well, that wouldn't ruin his day. Welcome to beautiful By the Bay Broome, boys. This town was famous for its pearls and girls. Maybe 1N could find someone to give a ride on his bike. Our 2 brave lads had another problem. It seemed everyone around here sunbathed nude, or in the nick, as they called it. Upon reflection, I suppose that wasn't really a problem.
I wonder if she's friendly.
Now what's he up to? Not the old Frisbee lands by girl trick. Two-End preferred the direct approach. Just hop on the back of a local's horse and get acquainted. Two-End's found his paradise. The natives were friendly and curious to find a Californian on the beach. A mixture of Polynesian, white, Filipino, Malaysian, Aborigine, and Oriental has resulted in many beautiful women. Looks like Two-End's found a home. Ah, the rigors of prospecting. Sue was trying to teach Two-End Australia's national game, cricket. I don't think Two-End was very serious about learning.
Right. I got it. Just knock over the wickets.
Good hit, Sue. Get her, Donn. Is that how you play cricket? Apparently Donn did something wrong. Of course, making up is always fun.
There's another bird. Maybe she plays volleyball.
Poor fella hasn't played volleyball in months. He is getting better at this, though. Donn would have made a good golf pro. He's full of tricks.
Oh well, she had such nice arms.
Donn coached her in another sport. He told her this was one of America's favorite pastimes. Well, he's almost right. Oh. No. Yep. I guess girls are the same everywhere. Get her, Donn. Donn finally chased something and actually caught it. Her. Don't worry, he promised not to get her hair wet. I'm shocked and appalled. Permanent goodbyes are not very easy. Goodbye, sweet lady. I suppose if you name places for hard-working prospectors to rest, Broome just might be on the list. No, they won't forget this lovely beach and its pearls, surf, beach, and beautiful tanned winnowy birds. Across the top of Australia, over there New Year's Day. You might ask if the two Donns knew where they were going. Well, that's easy.
Are you sure this is the Dinky Die Road, Mike?
I'm afraid it's the only road.
This area is a definite cure for claustrophobia. This is a super kangaroo, or big red. They get up to 7 feet high out here. This one looked like Rocky's sparring partner. They decided not to get any closer. This was his territory and he made the rules. Besides, he had enough muscle down his back and tail to knock the van over. They'd been known to slash people open with their tails. fresh milk on the hoof, if you could ever catch one. Guess what? You guessed it. There goes Don getting his usual exercise. Claims he can catch anything. Yeah, right, Don. Alfred Hitchcock got his start here. Actually, this used to be a thriving mining town. The gold played out and everyone moved on, and we do mean everyone. The two Dons hoped they could find some leftover gold with their metal detectors. Metal detectors had never been used in this town. What's holding those stairs up?
A mile straight down? No problem.
This was a lot different than working their way across an open area. At least it was cooler underground. Those mile-deep shafts got a bit scary. Since gold metal detectors have only been around a few years, they felt they had a good chance of finding an unexposed vein or nugget.
Found one? Funny joke, Don. Now let's go find some real gold.
Maybe you'll find some color in this shaft. What was he doing on that motorcycle? Taking a shortcut or working on a new mining technique? Lunchtime, everyone's favorite time of day.
Mail's arrived early. Probably just bills from California.
Looks like the maid took off a little bit early, like about 20 or 30 years ago. It didn't matter to Don, though. It was still home sweet home to him. If you believe that one. Let's see what he found in the kitchen for lunch. Peanut butter, his favorite lunch. Maybe there's one last bite. Just like the other holes in this town, empty. They figured rooms were going pretty cheap in the hotel. The unanimous opinion of all involved, that is both Dons, was that this town had most definitely gone, let me clarify that, had long gone to the birds. And I don't mean girls. Neither Don had noticed the darkening on the horizon.
Hey, who's in there? I need a shower.
They noticed the horizon. Boy, that came on fast. Ghosts? Well, they didn't want to hang around to find out. brave prospectors got out just before the cyclone washed out the roads. Their luck was holding.
Are we really gonna cross this?
No, we're gonna jump over it.
Our brave adventurers later learned that no one ever crossed at this spot unless they had four-wheel drive. The beauty of this site hid how deadly it was. The water was prone to rapid flooding. Crocodiles, hungry ones. Many people have died or disappeared in this area. To have survived man-eating flies and mosquitoes, incredible humidity, crushing heat, the perils of broom and killer sandstorms, just to be swept off this dam and eaten by crocodiles wasn't fair. They had been warned to never travel at night in these parts. There was a 50-50 chance of destroying your vehicle on an animal or other road hazard. They are now in Kununurra. That baobab tree is indigenous to the area. There are aborigines around here who have been influenced by white men, but they still hold on to many of their sacred laws. They speak halting English and were surprised the Dons were from America. Superstition, culturally and spiritually, was in evidence and caused our Dons some concern. This is definitely a male-dominated society. Women can be executed if they go certain places or possess certain objects. This is the entrance to Hidden Valley, one of those forbidden places if you're a woman. This is a didgeridoo. They are handmade by the Aborigines. Aborigines are native to Australia. They were the only humans here until England began using Australia as a prison colony. They are all good at playing this unique instrument. Fortunately, the boys were able to make friends with them. Marrywater volunteered to paint their van. He was honored by their permission and invited them to visit Elcho Island, where he was born and where his father still lives. They made plans to go with him to the island. They wouldn't be accepted without him. That's Elcho Island, where Marrywater was born. But first things first, back to the business at hand, looking for gold. On to Darwin, and hopefully, George. One tends to forget how wild and untamed much of Australia is. They had to close the toolbox vent because many of these locusts were getting inside the van. They experienced numerous discomforts and sights which long disappeared from the American scene. It's true they expected adventure, but they never imagined the scope and intensity they had opened themselves up to. The unusual was not hard to spot. Here one end has brekkie next to a cool ant hill. They are constructed with east to west exposure for best ventilation by Aussie ant engineers.
Excuse me.
When they got near Darwin, they telephoned George's agent, who then set up a meeting with George. To their great joy, George showed up. After spending time talking, George realized our two Dons were what they said they were, young Yanks looking for gold. He invited them to his home. No one knows where he lives. He's concerned about his family's safety. They did get permission to tell his story and to film these shots. They were indeed surprised and pleased. There, he told them how he found the Hand of Faith nugget. He was metal detecting in the Golden Triangle one day and got a faint sound. The deeper he got, the better the sound. Then 13 inches down, he saw the first finger. He had no idea what he'd found. When he finally got it out, he learned it weighed 63 pounds. He told the boys he found it because his wife had been praying for him. Here they were, 7,000 miles away from home, with the man who had found the largest gold nugget in this century. From a magazine photograph on a California beach to Australia, Then it seemed impossible. Now only unbelievable that they had done it. They had actually found him. They promised never to reveal where George lives or his full name. It's close enough to say he lives somewhere around here. All they had to do now was go back to the Golden Triangle behind the schoolhouse where George said he'd found his famous nugget. But first, with 6 weeks still left, they had a rendezvous with Marywater and Elko Island.
Hey, Don, I'm getting pretty good at this. You getting some sleep back there?
I expected to see one end running after these policemen or the policemen running after him. This grizzled gentleman is Jim. He's a retired bush ranger. He had some photographs and fascinating stories to share. Jim explained how even the beautiful had their problems.
That lubra, she had no nipples on her breasts at all, not even the sign of them, and she had a pickaninny, a child, and they reared it on one of their tame dingo sluts.
Aborigines are a clever race, able to adapt to survive.
Female's job was digging rabbits or grubs, and all the bucks, they'd just sit in the shade around the waterhole and talk. But when the bad things are on, they'd nothing for them to walk out 15 or 16 miles from the waterhole, and they'd stalk a kangaroo. They'd gut it, and they'd suck all the juice out of the punch and walk back and share it up with the mob.
Getting speared and chased by an Aborigine tribe was the risk taken by travelers.
I was in a sort of a tea-tree gorge in a cliff, well, a shower of spears, and he straightened up and the spears were sticking in him. All the blacks were going to bunch to rush down and finish him off, and the half-caste rushed up, and he'd got the spears broken off by that time and got his .44 rifle. Well, the half-caste got him back to the camp and run the lance down and cut the kangaroo sinews that's bound the barb onto the spear. Each night for 150 miles, that same particular tribe followed them, and they had a go at them nearly every night. One's barb was missing, and that's how it healed up in his lung. Coughed it up 22 years after.
The Dons were told if they stayed on Elko Island too long, they would wind up looking like this.
Everything seems to be working.
Oops.
Ouch!
Undaunted by the warnings from Jim, they double-checked the equipment and prepared to go to Elko Island with Marywater. Fear affects everyone differently. The Dons talked their way into a free plane ride to Elko Island in exchange for a credit in the movie. The island is in Arnhem Land, which covers much of Australia. This area is reserved for Aborigines only. That's where they were going to live for who knows how long. That's the last of civilization for a while, as they knew it. This is Bappa, their new dad. He's the tribal or Mala leader. The Dons were glad Bappa liked them. They eventually were adopted and given Aborigine names. Gaway for 2 ends, which means baby crocodile, and Gopama for 1 end, which means white cockatoo. Gaway and Gopama's near future schedule would go something like this: hunting, eating, sleeping, hunting, eating, sleeping, and so on. In case you're wondering, the Aborigines eat anything that moves. And so will our Dons if they don't want to starve. That's a damper cake and one of their staples. It consists of flour, sugar, water, and sand. Yes, they go to market once in a while. Our Dons got used to eating sand in everything. They were going to another island for a special treat, barbecued goanna. That's lele with 1 end. They all knew where the fresh water was. It seemed this beautiful island paradise was made for rest, quiet, and peace. That's before they learned about sharks, saltwater crocodiles, snakes, and territorial boundaries, which if crossed could result in you trying to catch a spear the hard way. This island, we learned, had only one of the above problems: night visitations from the crocodiles. They'll bite a leg off in your sleep. At 2 a.m., someone started yelling, "Biro, biro," which means crocodile. This one was speared and they thought it was dying. One end started to get a photograph of it, but had to run for his life. This one's jaws could take your leg off. One end finally learned what it felt like to be chased. They used the dog to find goanna lizards, like hunters use them to look for cougars. The hunt continues. She's already got one goanna.
There's one. Wait, no, there it goes. Where is it?
There goes Marywater. Now they got it. He's deadly accurate with that spear. Our Donn's had trouble with this part of the hunt. The Australian aborigines have some of the toughest feet in the world. The mosquitoes didn't even bother them. Neither did the ants. It was turning into a good hunt, and they were going to eat well that night. I hope those things don't bite. You never catch me doing that. The Don's mum holds on to the lizard until Bappa digs it out. The women have to be tough around here. Looks like a fat, juicy one. About now, the Dons began to wonder about their own safety. At least the food was always fresh. It was always eaten right away. Well, our brave adventurers figured they'd rather eat goannas than mangrove worms. Yuck. When you're hungry, you'll eat anything. The goannas tasted like tough chicken. Boring potatoes and onions were looking better all the time.
Oh, great, great. I mean, boom boony.
Two Ends, an early riser. Met some of the wildlife. It seemed like everything was alive and full of color. This is a wild wallaby. He named her Gloria.
Don't worry. I won't let my friends eat you for breakfast.
But she got nervous anyway. I think she knew them better than he did. In case you're wondering, yes, the Aborigines had a sense of humor. Don learned that sleeping in was a mistake. Ah, peace and quiet again.
If I can just get a little more.
The Aborigines thought this was great fun. Now that Don was awake, it was time for the community shower. Breakfast, like any other meal, had to be found before it could be eaten. The idea of fresh eggs seemed comfortable. At least this was something they were used to. They probe the sand, looking for soft spots. When they find one, they dig down and uncover the eggs and lift them out. sure beats driving down to the store and paying over $1 a dozen. This bunch of eggs totaled over 4 dozen. This would feed the whole family, unless they ate them first. Like a true aborigine, Donn had to try one raw. Merrywater's brother thought that was funny. Don's technique needed work. Wicked-looking thing. Now what are they after? Due to communication difficulties, the Dons often were not sure what they were supposed to be looking for. Whatever it was, Buffer was definitely ready. They decided they didn't want him after them. They're getting excited about something. It's a turtle. He got it. There goes Jaws. It's a big one. Sometimes they have to chase the float for hours. This is the hard part. A big turtle is heavy. Supper. This big beauty will draw all the relatives. Who wants to help lift him? Everyone has a job when a large kill is made. Someone prepares the fire, someone else kills the animal, someone else cuts it up, and so on. They all get in on the act and earn their portion of the meal. While the turtle was being prepared, they boiled some eggs as sort of hors d'oeuvre. The Dons were surprised by how many relatives were showing up. They didn't throw away anything. Intestines, head, liver, lungs, heart are thrown on the fire and quickly eaten. The spearer, family chief, and so on down get the better pieces. One end got the head. The meat was very good. They ate it with the natural soup formed in the shell while it was cooking. All in all, it was a lot of work, but it sure fed a lot of relatives. They had a little trouble getting used to the almost daily tick checks. Ticks, if not removed, can result in discomfort or infection. Yeah, they ate ticks too. Unfortunately, one hen had to remove his own ticks. His little sisters wouldn't even touch his hair. These aborigines wouldn't live to be that old if they weren't doing lots of things right. One of these old gentlemen had 25 wives and 31 children. They'd seen a lot of history and were willing to talk about it, a little. They told him about wars and killing enemies with spears and boomerangs. They mentioned great feasts and celebrations. They were proud of their prowess as warriors and providers. With their best English, they told Donn about a cave someone had hid in that had heavy yellow rocks in it. They were going that way to get back to Melbourne and hoped the men could show them where the cave was. They felt certain they'd find some heavy rocks there. They were able to explain to Donn what the area looked like and approximately where it was on the map. So they felt optimistic. Donn was awed by these men and the experiences they represented. It was almost like talking to Daniel Boone. He would miss their honesty and hospitality. It was time to end their visit. A pet or lunch? The plane was coming. They'd been there 2 weeks. This oyster bird was wild, but surprisingly friendly. Looks like it's lunchtime. So much for that pet. Yep, I was right. There's the bird in the background, ready for lunch. One thing the Dons learned quickly, kids are the same everywhere. I think they thought our adventurers had chocolate-covered kangaroo tails for them or something. Anyway, they all wanted to get in on the act. He wouldn't trade his pig's foot for anything. And like kids everywhere, they played in puddles, and they responded to love and friendship. these friends, too, would probably never be seen again. The Donns had become family. The Donn's adoptive mother was busy painting him a goodbye present. The scars on her shoulder are a tribal custom. She was painting with ochre on bark. The watermelon wasn't ice cold, but it was delicious, and you didn't have to worry where you spit the seeds. These flowers marked the edge of the Aborigine sacred burial ground. The Donns were forbidden to go any further. The only good part about the Donns' departure was it gave their new family an opportunity to have a party. That old guy could have worn them both out. The Donns' Papa told them, quote, "I trust the Jesus," end quote. Food was abundant and they shared it with everyone. Donn showed him how to give me 10. Our two brave prospectors will never forget their adventures on that island paradise. The beauty, the love, the daily hunt for food, the practical jokes, and the culture deeply affected our two California prospectors. These photographs bring back many memories. This is a dugong, or small whale. They didn't film the actual hunt because of bad weather. Butchering the dugong was a big job. It tasted like roast beef. It was a feast for everyone. Backyard barbecues will never be the same again. They wouldn't say where they got the sword. Papa's music was unforgettable. The Don's adoptive father, painted and ready for one of their ceremonies, beat spending money for fancy clothes. Their only regret was loss of filmed memories due to bad weather, superstitions, or out of film. Well, the warning didn't happen. They didn't change into Aborigines completely. Back to the job at hand, prospecting and peanut butter, potatoes and onions.
Great parking job, Gulpama. Saltwater's real good for the van.
The inside was even worse. It was home sweet van. After chasing out the mice, cleaning out their nests, and uprooting the weeds growing on the rug. They missed their toys.
The Aborigines would eat you. That blue tongue could be quite tasty.
It'll take a while for the Aborigine effects to wear off. They're a long way from Melbourne, and the supplies are depleted. It was time to sell everything they didn't need. Sleeping bags, gold nuggets, roller skates, and one end's flute. Somehow, gasoline and food seemed more important.
Now, seriously, could you live with that for 1 year? Now come on out there, give me a break.
How am I supposed to put up with this for another night? This guy is bugging me. I can't put up with him for another night.
No one that way, no one that way. So I guess it's okay for him to...
Hey, put that thing away!
They hurried straight down through Australia to find the gold the Aborigines told them about.
This looks like a good place to have breakfast.
That'd make a good honey commercial. Sure beats walking 3 miles looking for turtle eggs.
Nothing like breakfast in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, let's go on another camping trip for a year.
A nice quiet breakfast before looking for the Aborigines' cave. Oh well, so much for a quiet breakfast. A quick bush shower and ready.
Yeah, I'm okay. He's not gonna ruin my day.
Two Ends was checking the high ground, looking for the cave with the heavy yellow rocks. It was supposed to be near here. It was a beautiful view from here. One End was checking the low ground. Much to his surprise, he came upon a koala bear. One End's peace offering wasn't accepted. Then he realized he was the stranger, not the koala. He watched the koala for over an hour, and see? He moved a leg. This one seemed to be about as active as the one in the park. Both were drugged on eucalyptus leaves. After One End finished playing with the koala bear, and after he'd checked the area thoroughly, he finally found what he thought was the cave. All he had to do now was figure out how to get to it. That cave was dug over 100 years ago by miners looking for gold. It wasn't a natural cave. It was in a treacherous location. One End volunteered to film the investigation, thereby freeing Two Ends to climb down the cliff. Two Ends was deeply touched by this offer. Oops. They hoped to find some nuggets with their metal detectors that the miners had missed. By this time, Two Ends was an expert with the metal detector. One End had high hopes this was going to be their own personal mother lode. He just knew they were going to find a big one. Another $1 million chunk of yellow rock. It's dark in there. One End can't wait to see what Two End found. A whole bag full.
Here's your heavy-colored rocks.
They were rocks, all right, but they weren't heavy, unless they were falling on your feet, and they weren't yellow. It's likely the language barrier brought them to the wrong location. More frustration for our Dons. Disappointment and the effort to strike it rich were taking their toll on the Dons. It was time to rest, reflect, unpack the bags beneath their eyes, and maybe even take a nap. Sort of a semi-temporary withdrawal.
My partner must have kangaroos in his head. Just a few days left if I can just get through a few more days. No gold around here. I can't find any gold. 63-pound nugget. Yeah, right.
I think the wide open spaces and tight quarters with Two End had gotten to One End. Not finding much gold didn't help either. Two Ends needed a rest also. He figured his partner had finally flipped.
Partner extermination. It's probably illegal.
The map was showing the effects of its long voyage and much use and abuse. It was getting hard for them to find their way, what with food, soil, tears, and writing all over it. They wouldn't need it much longer if it would just get them back to the Golden Triangle, and then Melbourne, and home. With time running out, they had to travel at night, and they paid a price for that. The kangaroo paid a price, too. And the van paid a price. But once again, their luck was with them, and they were able to pull the fender away from the tire. Looking at their home on wheels, they wondered if they'd be able to give it away.
Look what you've done to the van. Look at that dent.
You tried dodging kangaroos.
They really didn't have time to sit around here in the middle of nowhere and talk. It was time to sell some more equipment, gas up the van, and call home for money.
But, Dad, we could really use some money. No. Oh, Don? Yeah, he's probably chasing a bird somewhere. Look, Dad, how about if I pay you back when I get home? Yeah, 18%, okay? I know. I promise. Dad, I'll get a job when I get home.
They sold the motorcycle, so now the van had to make it. The van's tie rod was wired, all the tires were bald, the muffler had fallen off, and the water tank had a leak. Other than that, everything was fine.
Still awake?
They had 800 miles of dirt road to travel before getting back to the Golden Triangle. They were running out of time. It was time for one last effort. The largest nugget ever found was discovered here over 100 years ago. With their metal detectors, this area was a hot prospect. There's a claim stake. This must be a good area. Look at him. He's really got the hang of it. Bob Sargent would have been proud of Two Ends. Of course, looking good didn't guarantee you'd find any nuggets. Two Ends had found the white pipe clay and hadn't taken up much space. By using their map, you couldn't get anywhere. Mother Nature took care of it for them. Actually, there was time for one more thing. George said he found the Hand of Faith nugget in the Golden Triangle behind a schoolhouse. The Dons believed this was the place. They had to look here. The area had been picked clean. One N said a fond goodbye to his metal detector. Oh no. One day left before leaving, and one N is trying a new, desperate, dangerous, bold, stupid, insane technique. He wasn't kidding. They sold their van for junk, got a few bucks for the rest of the equipment, and left Australia 1 year after arriving. The beaches were almost the same. Back here in San Clemente, there weren't any flies or humidity. But they had chased a dream. They'd put everything on the line. They had broken out of the mold. It was hard for them to grasp the reality of their memories. The nuggets helped, Numb's painting helped, the photographs helped. But in California, it still seemed unreal and almost impossible. Maybe they'd go back someday and look some more for the big one. Maybe they'd visit their friend on Elko Island again. Maybe.
You know, at the ground, there's no way to look for gold.
Yeah, but if I only had more time. I know them around there.
You have to be more patient.
Yeah, but I think all I needed was a little more time and a lot more explosives. I think when I get back there, I can just go a little deeper.
In Australia, we serve food.
I told him that Dick was and he just couldn't believe it. He said that it must be the only, frontier in the world left that you could sort of find nuggets.
You sell a glass of water for $1.50, a loaf of bread for $5. I tell you what, you Yanks talk about bloody water in America. We got more bloody water up there than you've ever seen.
Excitement of hearing the machine tell you there's something there, and then the anticipation of digging and finding what it is. And I find that fascinating.
I got no time for it.
The flies will keep them away, you reckon?
Let me help you?
Hello, I'd like to call Australia.
Hello, Melbourne.
Hello, I'd like to get a number. It's in the Bendigo area. It's actually in Kangaroo Flat. Hello, Graham. How's it going down under?
G'day, Don. Is that really you? Hey, it's great to hear from you guys. You look like coming back somewhere soon. Listen, how's that movie going? Have you got it finished yet?
Hello, Susan. This is Don. Remember with Two Ends. How are things in Oz?
G'day, Don. Is that you? You calling all the way from California? When are you two fellas going to come back here to Australia? Fred Rockingham, good morning.
Hello. Is Valerie home?
Don, is that you?
That's right.
Hi, how are you? Did you really make a movie? You did too. That's good. When are you going to
real good, but we're looking for a bit of rain.
Uh-huh. Did the crops come in pretty good last year?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh, great.
Beautiful last year, yes.
Hello, is that you, Don? When are you going to come back over to Australia and give me a think on your motorbike?
How's it all going together anyway? Hello? Who's that?
I'm sorry, I think she left here a long time ago.
Hello? Huh? Holiday.
So when you guys going to come back to Perth, we'll have a big party. This is going to cost you a fortune.
I guess this is goodbye.
Lovely to hear from you. I can't believe it.